Can the Terps get revenge on Northwestern?
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Can Maryland basketball get revenge against Northwestern and potentially ruin Northwestern's season overall? The Terps are at home tonight against Northwestern at 7. So if you want some Maryland basketball, you got some Wednesday night basketball to end your day, to get over the hump of the week. A hard week overall, I'm sure, for a lot of people out there. But this is a pretty big game for Northwestern. Northwestern is fighting for a seeding in March Madness. They're playing for just about everything. And you got a Maryland team that has nothing to lose. And sometimes in sports, the scariest thing is going against a team that has nothing to lose. And I would like to put Maryland in that category right now. We're currently 15-13 right now overall, and 7-10 in the Big Ten. We're ranked 11th in the Big Ten. Obviously, the season hasn't gone how we have wanted it to go. And I'm not going to talk about that too much. I think you guys all know and realize that the season hasn't been what we thought it would be, not what we wanted it to be. And a lot of fans are disappointed. A lot of fans probably stopped watching the games, but I still enjoy watching the games, and I love talking about it overall. And everything still matters. You can still take a lot from these games that happen overall, whether it's how the freshmen play going into next year, whether it's Jameer Young finishing up one of the best Maryland seasons we have seen. There are so many things to still take away from these games. So I would still encourage you, if you're like, I don't really want to turn the game on, I would still encourage you to watch the game. But let's get into this Northwestern team, an interesting team this year. They're a March team, probably for the second year in a row. They're having a very good season. I have to give credit to them. They're well coached. They do a really good job overall with this program. This program has turned around. It has been one of the worst programs in the Big Ten, I feel like, in terms of a basketball team for a while now. But now they're going on 2 straight March Madness bids. They're in a good spot. It looks like they're going to get one this year as well. A very good season overall by this Northwestern team. They're 10-6 in the Big Ten, 19-9 overall, but they do have a weakness overall. They have a really big weakness, and that weakness is playing on the road. They stink on the road. They're only 3-6 away from their stadium right now. And guess what? Maryland is playing this team at home. So Northwestern will be on the road. So Maryland could potentially take advantage of that overall. But I feel like saying a team is worse on the road is kind of just what it is in the Big Ten nowadays. Not very many teams in all of college basketball and all the Power 5 conferences, not many teams are better on the road than they are at home, or a lot of teams it's not even close. In the Big Ten, it's been like a clear advantage this year that if you're at home, you're usually going to win the game in the Big Ten. Even if you're going against one of the better teams and you're one of the worst teams, you can still have a really good shot at winning if you're at home. That's definitely a theme this year in the Big Ten. And I mean, that's just how it is in sports. Being at home is a lot easier, but this Northwestern team's not good on the road. They're really good at home, though. They're strong at home. They're 14-1 at home, 3rd in the Big Ten right now. And a lot of what Northwestern is this year, honestly, is kind of what I thought around in the ballpark, closer to what Maryland kind of projected to be this year. If you kind of think about it, remember Maryland was 3rd in the preseason Big Ten polls. Northwestern is currently 3rd in the Big Ten. Northwestern is currently 14-1 at home. If you remember what we kind of thought Maryland as, we thought of Maryland as a team that would never really lose at home. That's kind of how it was last year. And so these two teams are very similar. March Madness looks like Northwestern is going to be about a 9 seed or 8 seed maybe in March. Maybe they can climb up to a 7 seed. Maybe they're more of a 10 seed. I don't know. But that's kind of where I expected Maryland to be overall this past year overall. So this Northwestern team has a lot of similarities to what I thought that they could be in terms of what I thought Maryland could be overall. They're very similar in that type of way. But this Maryland team needs to seek revenge for the first matchup against this Northwestern team, where we lost 72-69 in a one-score game, a back-and-forth game. There was a ton of lead changes. It was a great game to watch from a fan's perspective. You had Jameer Young going absolutely crazy for like 36 points, and you just had a back-and-forth game. And the reason I feel like I need revenge from that first game and that the players should feel like they need revenge from that game against Northwestern is because where we were in our season, they kind of ruined our season, to be honest. I'm not saying we would have been a March Madness team. I'm not saying we would have been anything different, but we had a shot to put up a lot better of a season because think about it. We had just come off beating Michigan and then going to Illinois, 10th ranked Illinois, one of the best teams in the country, and we ended up beating 10th ranked Illinois, who's probably going to be around a 3 or a 4 seed in March Madness, and we ended up beating that team on the road. And people were talking about the Maryland program a little bit. The fans were saying, we're back on track. We got a really good quad one win. We got a really good resume win. We can still make it to the dance. We just got to put some wins together overall. And we were headed into the Northwestern game. We were confident. The season was at an all-time high. It was in a great spot. We were probably at the peak of the mountain in terms of, if you look back at our season, in terms of the excitement around the program and just in terms of winning a game, that was probably our highest moment as a program going into the Northwestern game. And so we had momentum. We had everything after beating that Illinois team and then also beating the Michigan team as well before the Illinois game. And then we get to this Northwestern game and they beat us. They beat us in a close game, in a game that was back and forth, where Maryland fans, we thought we had something going, 72-69. And so to me, it feels as if we need revenge. We need revenge for losing that game on the road to Northwestern in a game that could have changed the look of our season. After that game, it was never the same. We never hit that same stride. I mean, we did have a couple of good wins. We beat a good Iowa team. We beat a pretty good Nebraska team as well, but it wasn't the same. We didn't have that same kind of feeling that I thought that we got from potentially maybe if we may have beaten them. So I feel as if this Maryland team needs revenge against this Northwestern team overall. There's nothing better in sports when you get a second chance at something. You don't get it a lot. It doesn't happen a ton, whether it's the high school level, whether it's the college level, whether it's the pro level, doesn't really matter. If you're playing a sport and a team beats you once and you get a second opportunity to beat them and to prove that you were really the better team all the time, the whole entire year, you don't get to do that very much. I mean, you could say in the NFL you get to do it typically because you usually play teams you do play teams in your division twice a year. So, okay, maybe you get to do that in the NFL, but you don't always get to do that in college basketball, or you don't always get to do that in college football. You don't always get a second chance at beating someone twice. And that is one of the best things in sports, for a team to beat you once and from you to learn from the first game and then end up winning the second game. That can be revenge. That can be what I want this Maryland team to do overall. And I think they have the opportunity to do that against this Northwestern team. And then as well as I didn't say this, but I said maybe ruin their season. I don't know exactly where they stand in the March Madness kind of lookout and all that kind of stuff and how certain they are that they are going to get in the tournament. It looks like they have a really good shot at getting into the tournament. But hear me out. Maryland, if Maryland beats this Northwestern team, that could be the start to teams ruining their season overall. Think about it. They play Michigan State. Michigan State, I would say, is better than this Northwestern team. You guys tell me what you think, but I think Michigan State is better than Northwestern. It might not show up in the standings, but I overall think that Michigan State is better. And they also play Iowa. I think that's going to be a pretty evenly matched game. And then, of course, there's us before those two games. So if they go on a 3-game losing streak, are they still like a certified March Madness team? I don't know. I'm not speaking for the other teams. I'm just saying there's a chance to get revenge from the first matchup and maybe, just maybe, a chance to help ruin their season overall. How can the Terps win this game? How can the Terps actually put all this stuff into act and actually get the revenge that I am talking about? I will tell you about that after this ad from the Gametime app. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute, like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I have been there before. I hate when you can't find tickets to your favorite game or your favorite team that you really want to go to, or you can't find the right prices. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is fast, an easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even after an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off the big game ticket with code VEGAS. 100. Terms apply. Just download Gametime app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off the Gametime app. Please download the Gametime app. It really helps. Download the Gametime app today. How do the Terps beat this Northwestern team? There's different things that I think that this Maryland team can do if they want to win this matchup. And you got to learn from your last matchup. That's one of the biggest things. Like I talked about before. You usually don't get a shot at beating someone again in sports. You usually don't get that opportunity. After they beat you once, you usually don't get a shot for revenge. And one of the most important things you have to do is when you have a shot at beating a team, or if you have a shot at beating a team that you lost to before, one of the most important things that you have to do from the first matchup is learn what went wrong. And it was a close game. It was a close game against Northwestern, and I'm probably expecting another close game overall. But you have to learn from the first matchup what didn't go well. And the biggest thing to me that didn't go well, and I think if this didn't happen, I think Maryland wins a game against Northwestern. You can't beat yourself with turnovers. Maryland beat themselves in the first matchup against Northwestern with turnovers. In basketball, everybody knows turnovers can absolutely kill you. You're going to have some turnovers. You're not going to have 0 turnovers. It's not quite like college football or NFL where you want to have like probably 0 turnovers in the game. You're going to have some turnovers if you're playing aggressively, if you're playing hard. But the Maryland team in the first matchup had 13 turnovers, which is a pretty good number. We definitely want to have it lower than that. It's not an insane number. It's nothing like, oh my gosh, they had 13 turnovers. Like, that is horrible. It was definitely bad, but it's not like the worst number in the world. But the point is, Northwestern got 11 points off of those turnovers. 11 points. If we cut that to like 6 or 5, Maryland probably wins that game if they don't let Northwestern get easy buckets. If they make Northwestern earn the points in the game and they are in half court instead of in transition. And that's going to be important headed into this game. You cannot let Northwestern have 11 points off of your turnovers. You cannot turn over the ball 13 times to win this game. You got to keep the number pretty low. I'd like to say under 10. Maybe I would say probably under 10 is where you want to have that number at overall. So keep the number under 10, and that will be a good spot for the Terps. And don't let them get to double digits points off of turnovers, or we're going to be cooked because we already have trouble scoring overall. So giving them extra easy buckets is not what we want. We can't have that happen. This Northwestern team can shoot. They can shoot the 3 ball really well. Just check out their percentages. They shoot the 3 ball as well as anybody in the Big Ten right now. They shoot almost 40% from the 3-point line. 40%. Maryland can barely hit 30%. 40% from the three-point line is elite. Like, that is really high-end shooting. That is, you're taking the right shots, you're making shots, you have really good shot selection. That's a combination of things. You don't just wake up shooting 40%. That's not what happens. You can't shoot 40% taking poor three-point shots. You can't shoot 40% from having poor three-point shooters. My point is, for this Maryland team to win, you have to limit Northwestern's game. They want to shoot the ball. They want to shoot threes. There's multiple players in their lineup that want to shoot the ball. They have 3 of their 4 leading scorers shoot above 40% from 3. 3 of their 4 leading scorers. And the one player that does not, that is in their 4 leading scorers, shoots above 35% from 3. It's pretty crazy where they are as a team overall, how well they are shooting the ball this year. That's pretty crazy that 3 of the 4 of your top scorers shoot 40%, and then the one that doesn't shoots 35, while Maryland can't even hit 30. So limit their three-point shots. I don't think this Northwestern team is freakishly athletic. I don't think they can just burn us with athleticism. That's not what they are. I think that you can guard them if you play them tight. I want to play up on this Northwestern team. I want to give them no space. If they get some foul calls, if they get to the rim a little bit, that's okay, because I think they're going to have a lot more trouble getting to the rim and finishing inside than they are shooting three-point shots. And we know if they were having one of their good shooting days where they're shooting about that 40%, I think it's like 39 point something to be exact, but if they're having one of those days, it's going to be really hard to beat them, because we know Maryland, I doubt we're going to shoot the ball well because we haven't done it all year. So don't let that single-handedly beat us. Don't let them live by the 3. I'm not saying this Northwestern team lives or dies by the 3, but don't let them live by the 3 and beat us single-handedly by just shooting the ball really well. They're very guard-dependent. If you really look at this team, where most of their scoring comes, it comes from their guards overall. So I'm saying let their center, Matthew Nicholson, who's a big guy in there, but he doesn't have much offensive game, let him catch the ball in the post. Do not bring doubles to him. Let him try and score. If he scores a couple, that's fine. I'd rather him score. I'd rather him try and get going than someone else on the team. He's no like Julian Reese. He's not going to go and drop 20. I want to force Matthew Nicholson to score. Nicholson to score the ball overall. He only averages 5.5 points per game. They're guard dependent. Don't let their big man, or don't let their guards get going, and instead force him to get the ball. So Julian Reese, this is what my game plan if I'm Kevin Gloyer. I'm saying, you know how a lot of times that people try and deny the post entry. Do not deny the post entry. Let him catch it down there. Let him try and score the ball, and don't bring a double. Force him to beat us. And I trust Julian Reese on defense to be able to stop that. And then going off of Julian Reese has to be a good passer this game. Northwestern loves this kind of double team thing. They love double teaming down low in the post, even if it's like a guard posting up down low. They love to double down low. So this Northwestern team, or Maryland and Julian Reese has to be a good passer today. He might not go for 20 points against this Northwestern team. He might not go crazy against this Northwestern team, but he could have a season high of assists in this game. They love to double down low, so look out for that. Be a good passer and space the floor, and it makes sense for them to double and rotate off of us because of our poor three-point shooting. I would do that too, but they do that against other teams as well. But Julian Reese has to be a good passer. Look at Jordan Geronimo down low in terms of right in front of the basket. Look at kickouts to Kaiser and Dante Scott and whatever. But Julian Reese can have a really good day passing the ball. And my last thing is win the star matchup. Jahmir Young versus Boo Blue. Really good player overall. Really good player, Boo Buie is, I think I said like Boo Blue. Boo Buie, really good player in the Big Ten, averages around 19 points per game. But Jahmir Young, I will take Jahmir Young every single day you give it to me. And Jahmir Young has to win that matchup, because if Boo Buie outplays Jahmir Young, I don't know how we win the game overall. I mean, there are ways, of course, to win the game, even if he does that, but I don't think they're likely. So Jameer Young has to play better. What are my actual predictions? What do I think will actually happen? I will tell you about that after this ad from FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That sounds like a good deal to me. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. So if you're like a DMV sports fan and you want to bet the Wizards to win, or if you're a Lakers fan and want to bet on LeBron James and Anthony Davis to score above 30 points, or whatever you want to do, they got quick bets, same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sports book of the NBA. My predictions for the game. I chose Maryland to lose a lot of games this year, but I'm not going with that. I think Maryland wins this game. Maryland wins this game at home. I think they do. The interesting thing about it is a lot of you guys might be looking at this game and saying Northwestern's the better team. Northwestern should win this game overall. But I would tell you that is not true. This Northwestern team isn't more talented than us. They're not really that much better than us. I just think things have gone their way a little bit more. And that's kind of what it is in sports. Sometimes things go your way. Sometimes things don't go your way. And I think this year things have just gone the way of Northwestern. But they're worse than their record. They're not as good as you may think. And I'm not trying to hate on this team. They are third in the Big Ten, and they completely deserve that. And because they've won games overall and they've beaten some really good teams, but they're not as good as their record says they are. I'm not super high on this team. I've watched them play live. Nothing like jumps out. They're not super like explosive and like, wow, like that team's going to really hard to play against. I never get that vibe when I watch them. I watch them and I think they're smart, they're experienced, they have solid players in solid spots, and they shoot the ball well. And that's all you really need in college basketball, to be honest. But nothing blows me away. It's not like we're playing Illinois and I'm like, shoot, like they got Terrence Shannon, and then they got Dome Sack, who can also drop 25 points. And then they also got this guy down low that's really good. It's not quite on that level, or it's not Purdue level where I'm like, how on earth are we going to match up with Zach Edey? And then they have really good three-point shooters and guard play as well. It's not that type of matchup. It's not as good as you may think third in the Big Ten is. It's more methodical. It's less explosive. It's less flashy. It's less kind of really talented basketball. They play just solid, good-nosed basketball, and I think this Maryland team can win this game. I think Maryland wins this game. I really don't think this team is that much better than us. And believe it or not, Vegas doesn't think so either. The spread is 5.5. Maryland is favored by 5.5 points, which seems a little bit high to me. I'm not even going to lie. But, I mean, like 5.5 is a lot of points, but it goes back to my point that this Maryland team, this Northwestern team are not all that different. Maryland is favored by 5.5 at home. A big part of it is because they're at home, and Big Ten teams win at home overall. But that's why I'm predicting this Maryland to win this game. Big Ten teams win at home. They are a lot better at home. Northwestern's 3-6 on the road. Maryland's pretty good at home. The spread is 5.5, which is interesting. I will say this, though. I think Northwestern covers the spread. 5.5 points, I think it comes down to the last one or two possessions. 5.5 is way too much. If you would have to take something, like I don't think I would be able to take Maryland minus 5.5. It's a big number in my opinion. If that thing goes up anymore, I bet it gets bet down a little bit. I bet it goes down a little bit because I'm sure a lot of people will be on Northwestern. Maybe it'll go down to 4.5. I don't know, but the number seems kind of high for me. But I think Maryland wins the game, and I hope they prove me right overall. But we'll see what happens. I do like this Maryland team in this matchup. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked On Terps.